the deeper insight is that if you are here today, you have been dealing with life already. Whatever way you have been dealing with it, you have dealt with it. So there is anyone can access that natural confidence. I got here. That means I have the basic survival instincts and everything I need to have gotten until here. So I can be confident that if life brings me something, I will be able to deal with it. I have dealt with a lot of shit up until today. What I think people who lack confidence don't do is that they don't recognize how much stuff they have dealt with. They don't take account of that. So they always live in the fear that I won't be able to deal with the next thing that life gives me. If you step back and just pause and make an account of all the stuff that you have dealt with in life, all the heartbreak, all the pain, all the challenges, all the obstacles, even if you did not deal with them perfectly, finally you dealt with them and you got to where you are today.
Interestingly, in this particular situation, I realized that I I didn't realize I specifically thought I don't want to manipulate her
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because I know I can do that.
Uh-huh.
She might see through it, but I
Mm-hmm.
mean I know I could give a pretty convincing
Uh-huh.
like sob story of like please don't take advantage of
Yeah.
me. Do you know what I mean? Like try
Yeah.
to guilt or manipulate in that way.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I realized that going forward, I've spent so much of my life manipulating other people
Mm-hmm.
into trying to like me that that
Mm-hmm.
is something I need to actually define and specify going forward is that is
Mm-hmm.
something I need to be really conscious of and move away from
Mm-hmm.
is that it's not okay. It's no longer okay with me to like
That's a
do that
powerful
kind of
shift.
thing. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons I'm so like pleased with the outcome is that I didn't
Mm-hmm.
go in there feeling I didn't go in there like doing what I normally would do, which is to fall into guilt,
Mm-hmm.
but equally also try and do this like pathetic, like, please, but I'm a good person. Like, I don't take advantage of me. None of that crap. Like, I was just, yeah, exactly like you were saying, really intentional about, well, what would be the point, even if I was victorious, what would be the point if I'd done that by those means?
Mm-hmm.
It would have been a hollow victory, and I don't want that
And
anymore.
and in that sense also it's a very disempowering victory that I am not powerful and strong enough to just be
Mm-hmm.
honest and
Mm-hmm.
have that integrity within myself. I have to twist and bend and manipulate because I don't feel powerful. I think that is the real shift is that I feel powerful in who I am and I can say whatever I want to say and I will deal with the consequences of it. The people pleaser is insecure, is feeling like I can't deal with this. So I have to lie and cheat and manipulate and make the other happy because only if the other is happy and pleased can I get out of this safely. If the other one is pissed off, I can't get out of this safely.
Yes, it's entirely dependent on the other person. Yeah, that's such
The
a good
power is
point.
in their hand.
Hmm.
Whereas what the way you described it is you took the power and own the consequences. Whatever happens, I'll deal with it.
Which does tie in pretty well with the idea for this podcast that we had last time, which is about confidence.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And how do you get to a place where you are confident that you can handle what life throws at you, that you can deal with like consequences? And I was thinking about you took improv classes. So this is what I was like, how would I define confidence for me? And it's that kind of being able to improv my way through whatever situation, anything, I can somehow work with it and turn it around. That is what I personally think of when I think of being feeling confident. How about you?
When I signed up for the improv class, the first session where the introductions were happening, they asked, "What's your experience with improv? What level are you at, and what's your intention in joining?" And I was like in the whole group, and everyone was describing. Most of them were like in the uh, acting industry, and they were all like coming from that point of view that they wanted to become better actors or whatever it is, or comedians, like all in the performance industry. And my introduction was that my life is improv. I live my life in an improvised way, and I call that living in the unknown. And that's exactly what you're describing, is that if we can realize that every moment is uh, capable of surprising us, then we live in that improvised way. Otherwise, the default mindset is controlling the outcome in every moment. And that is the people pleasing attitude, or the controller attitude, is that I know what's going to happen if I do this. I know what's going to happen if I do that. And trying to manipulate reality into giving you what you want, instead of letting go that control, whether it's through people pleasing or through overt controlling, whether it's manipulation or control. It's to say that I allow life to surprise me because I'm confident that I will deal with it if it's a bad surprise. At the same time, you start realizing that there is no such thing as a bad surprise. Life is just giving you things. You can do anything with it. It may feel like a bad surprise because of the expectations that you have been programmed with. But if you take out that judgment, then life is just giving you things, and you choose what you want to do with it. And that is an attitude of confidence. That when you look at it, life that way, that can only happen from a place of confidence. Is that I am open to anything life gives me. At the same time, you start defining your energy in a way that, so, life will not give you certain things because you have learned those lessons. Life is not random in that sense. Like, life will not just throw things at you. It's not a it's not a it's not random. The in my opinion, my experience, life is not random. When it gives things to you, they are very intentional. They are helping you to wake up from certain illusions, to heal certain things, to learn certain things, or to take you where you want to go. So that is manifestation. Okay, I want to manifest a certain thing. Life is giving me a gift. I may not see it as a gift, I may see it as an obstacle. If I open my mind, I realize that that is exactly what I need to get to where I want. This went into a different place, but coming back to confidence, it's still, for me, all of that is about confidence, because confidence is the attitude that life, I am okay dealing with life. I am great at dealing with life. And that comes from practice. The more you deal with life, the more confident you feel at dealing with life.
So it's like the less you try to control or avoid life, that's like the middle ground is you're just dealing with life, you're just improving with it,
Yeah.
something like that.
And the deeper insight is that if you are here today, you have been dealing with life already. Whatever way you have been dealing with it, you have dealt with it. So anyone can access that natural confidence is I got here. That means I have the basic survival instincts and everything I need to have gotten until here. So I can be confident that if life brings me something, I will be able to deal with it. I have dealt with a lot of shit up until today. What I think people who lack confidence don't do is that they don't recognize how much stuff they have dealt with. They don't take account of that. So they always live in the fear that I won't be able to deal with the next thing that life gives me. If you step back and just pause and make an account of all the stuff that you have dealt with in life, all the heartbreak, all the pain, all the challenges, all the obstacles, even if you did not deal with them perfectly, finally you dealt with them and you got to where you are today. Even if you're still dealing with the consequences of some of those things, at some degree you move past them and you're where you are today. Even if you're in the middle of a challenge, you are in the middle of the challenge. You're not at the beginning. You've already gone through some parts of that challenge and got into the middle of it, and you'll get to the end of it. It's recognizing that I have done all of these things. I can deal with life. I'm not that bad at life. And the parts which I don't know how to deal with, let me learn from a teacher. Let me learn how to deal with life, and that will help me to build my confidence. It's just to learn some tools, some mindsets, some techniques that will help me to get better at dealing with life. When I learn those things, I'll be more confident in life. So it's not about learning confidence, it's about learning to deal with life. That will naturally give you confidence instead of having to fake it, instead of having to hypnotize yourself and say, I am confident, I am confident. No, just deal with life and you'll be confident.
Yes, I feel like with a lot of people uh, who do exactly what you just described, which is they just discount how they've managed to get to where they are already. I feel like in some cases it boils down to this endless comparison mode that they're in, where even if you were to point out to them, you've managed to do all of these things, they somehow feel like they're an imposter and that
Mhm.
everybody else is doing those things but isn't struggling as much as they are. Like it's this thing of like, oh no, okay, I know I make it look like I'm a normal person on the outside, but I'm actually really not. And I feel like everybody around me has got it figured out and is an adult, sorry, and I'm not. It's something weird like that, just imposter syndrome thing of like I'm not really an adult. I'm just pretending, and any minute now someone's going to figure it out. Something like that.
Yeah, this self-discounting is very normal, and it's the perfect way to describe what I was saying in a very short way, that we keep forgetting how much we have done. I just parallelly launched another podcast, which is my solo podcast now, which I called One Deep Step, which is only going to be me sharing short episodes of my insights, whatever I want to share, basically my learnings, my teachings, my wisdom is all going to go into that podcast into bite-sized episode. And I just launched the first episode at the beginning of this call. And the title of that episode is that your wrongness is your perfection. So of course, people can go and listen to that, but it's realizing also that you can be imperfect. It's giving you the permission to be imperfect. And just because you're imperfect doesn't mean you should not be confident. Doesn't mean you're an imposter. You don't hit uh you don't become confident only when you're perfect. And you can gain confidence even in your imperfection, even in your incompleteness. So that's how I will link that episode to this one, is that you can be imperfect and you can still be confident. And if you just allow yourself to be imperfect and recognize at the same time all the stuff you have done, that is where you get this mega boost of confidence because you realize I have done a lot of stuff. and I can keep learning and I can keep growing and I can be imperfect at the same time. So the discounting gets taken care of by allowing your imperfection, and the confidence gets boosted by recognizing what you've done in life.
That's, yeah, very well put all round. And it sounds really clear and straightforward. And yet I know that somehow we manage to like put layers and complicate this to the extremes. But I also wanted to check with you what your thoughts were around
Just
where it goes.
before you ask that question, to comment on that, the theory is simple. Putting it into practice is also simple. It's just that you have to actually practice. This is what most people don't do, is practice the theory. Actually act on it. Do the exercise of listing down everything and building that confidence that you have dealt with life. Practice allowing yourself to be imperfect when you are imperfect. Do it in that moment, not just, oh, I watched this video on YouTube and next moment I forgot everything. Next time you are imperfect, give yourself permission to be imperfect. Give yourself permission to be wrong, to be a disappointment, to be judged in the eyes of others. It's okay. It's okay to do all that. And we will put a link to the other episode in this one, so you can go and check that out too.
I do also just wonder how much of it is like a resistance to, like, everybody seems to want more confidence, but I also wonder how much of it boils down to maybe our perception of are you ready to be confident? Like, are you ready to become a confident person? Not just have confidence in one domain or one area of your life, um, but to like be overall full stop a confident person, because what comes with that, I think it can scare people, like the concepts or the stories we start to tell ourselves of like, if I were a confident person, what comes up for me is I had resistance for a long time about being um taking responsibility for my life, like actually steering the ship in any direction, um, being like a leader of myself, something like that was really terrifying to me. And so I um desperately wanted to be a confident person and to not be so insecure. But it was also this pull of like, or push pull dynamic within, of thinking, of telling myself, oh, but equally, I don't want to, I don't want the responsibility of what comes with having confidence in myself and all of that kind of thing. Or do you think that's just a very anecdotal my
Oh,
thing?
that is the whole attitude of a victim, is that I get to disclaim responsibility. It's a comfort zone. To be to not be confident is a comfort zone, because I don't have I always have an excuse why things are not working. I always have an excuse why I can't do it. It's like I don't have confidence, so I can't do it. So I get to push it away, I get to procrastinate, I get to dump it on someone else. I don't have confidence, you do it. You be the leader. That is a very concrete reality for a lot of people, is that they have an aversion to taking responsibility, because once you have confidence, now what's your excuse for not doing shit? Yeah, totally. It's definitely it's a big mindset shift, that being confident is not just about wanting it. Like, you have to recognize why you don't want it. That's a great insight that you brought up. The other thing could also be you have an aversion to um, attention. Like, confident people are very charismatic, they're very magnetic. And maybe you see someone who is very confident having a lot of people surrounding them, and you're like, I don't want that actually. Like, one part of you is like fantasizing about having that, and another part of you says, Actually, I like not being noticed. I like being in the shadows. I like being hidden. And I like not having attention. So again, it's that push pull. One part wants that, and the other part says not really. So it comes down to which part do you want to feed? You want to continue feeding the one that's in the comfort zone, or you want to start feeding the one that actually gets what they want. And that choice can be resolved through a process of integration of these two parts that are in conflict, because there's a middle reality which both can have what they want. If I really don't want to be famous and I want to be confident, that exists. This polarity a is an illusion. It's a false belief. Is that I can only be, if I'm confident, I will have a lot of attention, and if I don't want attention, then I have to not be confident. But there is that reality in between where you can just be confident and not attract attention, not be popular. That reality exists. Is that is when you learn to regulate your confidence and also regulate your charisma, and you have the inner confidence, but you don't have to attract attention for that. And at the same time, we can also talk about why, like, why don't you want attention? But that's a different topic. And it's okay to not want attention. It's not everyone has to have attention. Some people just like privacy, private life. And if that is who you are, really, then there is a way to merge these two realities where you can be an introvert who's confident. That exists.
That is the dream. That is exactly where I want to be, a confident introvert without drawing too much attention, but also not being afraid of drawing attention. Just when I need to, I can take up space. But the rest of the time, I don't feel uncomfortable being under a gaze of some kind.
Then, just to add, because then you are resentful. If you are an introvert who is not gaining confidence because you are rejecting everything that comes with confidence, then you also are resentful of confident people. You are resentful of not having your own confidence. And while you do offload that responsibility onto other people, you are secretly jealous, you're secretly resentful. And you don't have to be. You can actually, like this, again, coming, just restating that point, that you can have the best of both worlds that exists. That's my specialization. My goal is to live in that liminal spaces where I get everything that all my parts want. I don't have to compromise the needs and desires of one part just because another part wants something different. Is how can I marry everything?
And I also just wonder if there is, I think definitely there was for me at one point when I would tell myself this story that actually confidence equated to arrogance, and that I was more virtuous by being, you know,
Humble.
shy and exactly, like, yes, I didn't need attention, and like it would automatically, like, for some people, I would just dismiss them as being arrogant, and that isn't that definitely doesn't have to be the case, and that isn't the case in a lot of situations. But it's a way of playing small.
Yeah, these are shadow projections. It's like when we don't own our shadow, we put it onto other people. It's like, yeah, I want to be confident. Secretly, unconsciously, I want to be confident, but I hate confident people because they are arrogant, because they are this, they are that. And so I push it further away. So again, the exercise someone can do here is, if in any aspect, whether it's confidence or anything else, you are pointing a finger at someone and saying they're bad or evil because they do this, remove that filter and see what is it that you really want that they have, and how can I get it without taking on the things I don't want from what they have. So I like to put it this way: that I don't allow any person or group to own any quality. One quality doesn't belong to a group. I think because that mindset is where we start distancing it. Like if rich people are confident and I don't like rich people for whatever reason, then I also cannot have confidence. So if I detach that quality from that group, I can now have confidence without having all the bad qualities of rich people. Again, that's a whole big topic, but just to give an example, is that if I detach the quality from the group or from the archetype, I can just take the quality.
Yeah, I feel like that is what we were discussing in the last episode a bit about, like, how much do I want to take in something from this other person, and how easy it is to forget that we actually do have that ability to discern and be selective and intentional about what we're wanting to emulate in someone and what we're inviting in, but also that we can, have boundaries and shields. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to just, by emulating one part of someone, it doesn't mean you're going to suddenly A, become them, or, that easily, or B, take on all of their negative, what you perceive as being negative aspects. That's not how it works. But I definitely had that mindset for a long time. That it would be just, it's just too risky. It would be too risky for me. It's too dangerous to try and want to take any aspect of that person, because I noticed one thing that, and again, it's this idea of like it all comes as one big package.
Mhm.
Like there's no ability to pick and be selective and very precise. So
Mhm.
that's interesting. And what do you think are the checks and balances that are required with being confident so that you do not go too far into the hubris and arrogance end of the spectrum?
That's a very big topic and maybe worth exploring in another episode.
Okay.
So we can do that next time and
Okay.
cut it here.
Yeah. It's a good tease.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good flashback to the previous episode and the teaser for the next one.
Yeah.
So
I like it.
anyone who wants to tune in can subscribe and look back at the previous one
Yeah.
and get notified for the next one. Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.